Although breeding your dog may seem like a natural and simple thing to do, there are many important considerations and steps involved with success in ending up with a healthy litter. Today, we will tell you everything about how dogs make babies, dog mating. Number 7. How often do female dogs come into heat? On average, this occurs about twice a year or every 6 months, and it varies from dog to dog. When cycling first begins, there may be a great deal of variability in the time between cycles. This is normal. Some females take 18 months to 2 years to develop a regular cycle. There is no evidence that irregular heat cycles predispose the dog to false pregnancies or pyometra, uterine infection. Small breeds tend to cycle more regularly than the larger breeds. 3 and occasionally 4 heat cycles per year can be normal in some females. Very large breeds may only have a heat cycle once every 12 to 18 months. In most giant breeds, Great Danes, Irish Wolfhounds, St. Bernards, etc., an estrus cycle every 12 months is common. Number 6. What are the signs of a dog in heat? The most notable sign is vaginal bleeding. This may not become apparent until a few days after the female has actually come into estrus. Vulvar swelling should be taken as the first sign, in addition to the female paying increased attention, such as licking the area to her rear end. From the beginning of the heat period, she will be attractive to male dogs, but will not usually be receptive or allow mating until about 7 to 10 days later. The discharge will usually become less blood-stained at this time. Some females experience heavy vaginal bleeding during estrus. If you're concerned, please consult your veterinarian. You may also find that she is passing small quantities of urine more frequently. The urine contains both pheromones and hormones, which signal any interested males that she will be receptive soon. Heat cycles vary, but average 2 to 3 weeks for most dogs. Heat should be considered to begin with the first signs of vulvar discharge, or when the female begins licking or paying attention to her vulva. The vulva will begin to appear swollen. It ends when all discharge ceases and the vulva has returned to its normal size. Number 5. Breeding. Estrus, commonly called coming into heat, is the time of ovulation when the bitch can become pregnant. Bitches usually come into heat at about 6 to 12 months, then approximately every 6 months after that. Bitches should not be bred until at least their second heat to allow them to mature. Their first whelping should be before 4 to 5 years of age, or they are at higher risk of having whelping problems. Average length of the heat cycle is 21 days, 7 coming in, 7 in the actual breeding period, and 7 going out. This can vary greatly from one bitch to another, from 3 to 10 days for each part of the cycle. The onset of estrus is marked by a swelling of the vulva, then a discharge that may appear clear or red-tinged. You may also notice some behavioral changes, and male dogs will start hanging around your home. Keep your bitch under close supervision, leashed or penned, not just tied up. Vaginal smears performed every other day can pinpoint the actual onset of the breeding period. Select a male based on breeding, conformation, and temperament. Remember that any undesirable trait is likely to be passed on to your puppies. Select only superior dogs. For many breeds, generally larger breeds, we recommend X-rays to screen for problems such as hip and elbow dysplasia before deciding to breed either male or female. Before breeding your bitch, get her in good health. Obesity greatly increases the risks of pregnancy and whelping and decreases fertility. She should receive a booster on her DHLP-PV within 6 months of breeding, but at least 2 weeks before the breeding date. Some dog owners will require a brucella test. This is a contagious disease of dogs, transmittable to humans, that usually is passed during breeding. If a stud owner requires this test, they are doing so to protect both their dog and yours. To avoid injury to the male, let the dogs become acquainted while leashed. If the bitch acts aggressively or tries to injure the male, stop breeding attempts and reintroduce them after a vaginal smear to check her heat status or after a day or two. During breeding, the female will stand with her feet planted and her tail off to the side. The male will mount her, and after breeding will remain attached to the female for 5 to 20 minutes. This is called the tie. It is natural at this point for the dogs to be joined facing in opposite directions. Leave the dogs alone until the tie ends naturally. The bitch should be bred every other day until she rejects the male. Number 4. Pregnancy. There are several methods of pregnancy diagnosis, all with some limitations. Palpation may be done from 20 to 30 days, but may not pick up puppies in obese dogs or those with only 1 or 2 pups. Ultrasound can pick up pregnancies from 21 days, but is best performed from 28 to 35 days. This method is not always accurate on the number of pups, but it can be done earlier than X-rays. The most accurate method is X-rays taken after 45 days. This allows us to give an accurate count of puppies about 2 weeks prior to whelping. Bitches often go through false pregnancies exhibiting all the signs of pregnancy, including mammary development and nesting behavior. This usually only lasts 60 days and is easily identified by performing ultrasound to rule out pregnancy. Many bitches will go through a period in their early pregnancy when their appetite is poor. This is normal and should only last for 7 to 10 days. About 2 weeks prior to whelping, prepare a nest for your bitch. In a quiet place, such as a closet or small room, place a box large enough for the bitch to be able to lie in comfortably. Small, round plastic children's wading pools work well for larger dogs. Do not place the nest in a busy area, as whelping may be delayed or interrupted if strangers are present or it is too noisy. Line the box with a thick layer of newspaper and towels or a blanket. Number 3. Whelping. The approach of whelping is signaled by mammary gland and vulvar enlargement and decreased activity. Your bitch may also exhibit restlessness, nesting behavior, and lack of appetite for 12 to 24 hours before parturition starts. There are 3 stages of the birth process. Stage 1, 6 to 12 hours, panting, restlessness, onset of contractions. Body temperature drops 1 to 1.5 degrees, usually below 100 Fahrenheit. Stage 2, 2 to 4 hours, contractions and expulsion of fetus. Pups come every 10 to 30 minutes. Often 2 will be born in a short period of time, then the bitch will rest for 45 minutes to an hour. Allow the bitch to break the cords and clean all the puppies. She may want to eat the placentas. This is normal but not necessary. Do not allow her to eat more than 2 or 3, or an upset stomach is likely. Count to be sure there is a placenta for each pup. Stage 3. Expulsion of remaining placentas and uterine involution. Call if 12 hours go by without expulsion of all the placentas, retained placenta. Handle the newborn pups as little as possible for the first few days. Do not allow other dogs in the nesting area. Keep the number of people visiting to an absolute minimum, and do not allow them to touch the pups for the first 3 to 4 weeks to avoid disease transmission. Number 2. Lactation. Milk starts forming in the mammary glands 1 to 2 weeks prepartum and may drip for a day or 2 before birth. The composition is very different from the milk of other animals, therefore cow's milk is inadequate as a substitute. If the bitch has insufficient milk for a large litter, special milk replacers such as Espalac must be used. Healthy, satisfied pups will wake, cry for a few moments, nurse, then sleep again. Unhealthy or hungry pups will cry for extended periods, then fall quiet as they weaken. These pups need immediate attention. Some bitches will experience hypocalcemia or low blood calcium, especially if they are nursing large litters in the first 3 to 4 weeks of lactation. These bitches are nervous and restless, progressing to panting, whining, incoordination, and collapse. This is a medical emergency. Feeding calcium supplements during pregnancy increases the problem. Number 1. What can you do to ensure mating is successful? Surprisingly, male dogs appear to be more stress-sensitive than females during mating. Successful matings are more common when the male dog is in its own environment. For this reason, females are usually taken to the male dog's home for breeding. The time of mating is extremely critical, and it is highly recommended that you have tested your female to determine the optimal days for breeding. For most females, the best time for breeding is between the 10th and 14th day of estrus. However, some females ovulate as early as the 3rd or 4th day, or as late as the 18th day. Blood tests will assist in determining the best period for your dog. It is normal to arrange for 2 matings for your dog, often 24 or 48 hours apart. Check these details with the owner of the stud when making initial inquiries. Also, inquire as to the procedure if your female dog does not become pregnant as a result of the stud service. It is common for owners of the male dog to offer a free service next time. Do share with us in the comments if you know more tips for dog mating. Please subscribe to The Wiggle Paw. Thanks for watching.